AQ staff needs to stop doing this. You're literally killing your own game. How's it going, guys? I'm your host Korriban Gaming, and today I'm back with yet another special video. So to start off the video, let's take a look at the Mark of Wrath armor that I was raving about in last week's video. Have you guys guessed it yet? Yep, it got a huge nerf. Okay, so let's check out the armor here. I will equip the armor now. Mark of Wrath, shields. Okay, gone, and we'll just use a weapon with no special. Let's do a chemical unity. Hide this, and we can start. So let's look at it. So the normal attack, this is unchanged. Okay, still 2 hits, damage still the same. Then let's look at the skill. So the first skill, Consuming Wrath. First skill went from 78 SP to 157 SP. Like what? That's literally double the original amount. I get that the cold is a super strong status, but come on. 157 SP for something that your typical mob will be able to have some chance of resisting, considering the fact that most mobs in the game have some form of endurance. It does have a minus 20 save, which is very nice, but keep in mind that each landed hit reduces the enemy's MRM and BTH by 3, so you will also need to land your hits. But of course, this does get easier over time. That's not the worst part. One successful save essentially means the monster can wipe the status and all your stacks entirely. For 157 SP per turn, just no. Now, the staff did say that they were planning to make it into separate stacks, similar to the panic status, and I think that will be a very good change when it happens. My question is, why the increased cost first if you don't have the ability to implement the numerous stacking yet? What's the rush? This is still a decent skill in my opinion, but I find it hard to justify 157 SP per turn for the stacking if the monster can clear all the stacks in one go. For those who suggested inflicting Fragile to make it easier to stack, I guess that's a good idea on paper, but in reality it's just way too much work, time and resources. You're going one big round just to inflict the status, so it's a no-go for me. I feel that the best way to make this skill good again is to just implement the numerous stacking, and I will literally be fine paying the current cost. Alright, next. The second skill. So the second skill went from 127 SP to 264 SP. That's right, once again, the skill, they doubled the cost. What the heck? It's not even that strong a skill. Keep in mind the whole point of this skill is to help add on additional damage to your third skill. And while this sounds like a neat idea on paper, and I do applaud them for trying something new, it just doesn't work practically. The max number of stacks is 8. By the time you even reach half that amount, the monster is almost dead or dead already. So that kind of defeats the whole purpose of the second skill. Okay, Brady Simmons suggested turning this into a win any round skill instead, and I personally think that's a great idea. But to rework the skill entirely, I don't think that's possible given how the staff are always complaining about the lack of time. And on top of that, doing this will also mean that they have to change the third skill somewhat drastically. As such, I would suggest them to just keep this skill as it is, mechanics, damage and all, but keep the original cost, at least only increase it by like 50% tops. Doubling the cost is just ridiculous and there's zero reason to use the skill in its current form. The third skill, and this is also the skill I'm most mad about, okay? So just look at this, guys. So I'm going to do it unboosted, completely unboosted. The cost stayed the same, but the damage was cut in half. What? Previously it was doing like 3k damage, yeah, around 3k, but I can get like way better damage for a lower cost through many different means. So it went from one of the best damage skills in the game to a complete joke. So according to Lawkeeper, the skill was bugged to deal double the intended amount of damage. Like, okay, I can agree that the skill was a bit too crazy in its original form, but this can't be it either. I'm not asking for the skill to return to its original form since that is highly unlikely, but cut the damage by 20 or 30% at most. Any more than that, the skill becomes trash. Lawkeeper also said that it was supposed to be an overcharged skill, so I guess we should be expecting slightly higher costs than the already absurd cost that we have right now, but of course, we will be getting slightly higher damage as well if they decide to go ahead with this change. I don't know, man. I feel like unless they bump up the damage by a good amount again, it's just not going to be worth using. I've seen several people suggesting to turn it into a weapon-based skill instead of a spell-based skill, which is what it currently is, so that you can boost it more easily. The staff aren't super eager about this suggestion, so I think that it's quite unlikely that this will happen. I feel that the easier and better solution will be to just give it a higher negative BTH lean so we can get back some of the original damage. This wouldn't be that bad as you can synergize it with the first skill so you don't miss that much. On top of that, there's also a good amount of ways to boost your BTH nowadays, so I don't think a big negative BTH lean will be that detrimental. All in all, I still think it's a decent armor, but it's a very far cry from what it used to be. This is honestly quite depressing because we had such a good release initially, only for them to completely massacre the reward less than a day later. This kills off so much of the excitement and happiness, it's unreal. While it is technically a good thing that they managed to fix the supposed bugs quickly, rather than to leave it alone for months if not years, it feels more like a knee-jerk reaction caused of a very small group of players. This then begets the very large question that I have in my mind. Are players supposed to be conditioned to think that if an item is too good on release, it's supposedly bugged and will be turned to trash? That is honestly such a horrible mentality to have, and I don't know why in the world the staff would want to subconsciously or consciously try and inculcate this mentality into the player base with their actions. You literally kill off all the hype, or the excitement, or the happiness for this banger release on your own. Why do you want to ruin your own game? Is player satisfaction not more important than your silly balance manifesto? I feel like this is where a lot of game developers go wrong and dig themselves a hole that eventually becomes too deep for them to climb out of. And that is thinking that whatever they are doing is right for the game and ignoring whether or not their players are happy about the changes. This holier than thou mentality is what kills the game. Your game cannot survive without your players. Every single change you make, you absolutely need to think about whether or not players will be happy about it. And I know that it's just not possible to please everyone, but you got to at least look to please the majority. Are the majority of players happy about the change? From what I can see, I don't think so. Maybe some are indifferent or some just don't want to speak up about it. But I can see the difference in the vibes, the tone of the conversation from when the release first came out and from when the nerf dropped. Like when the release first came out, like literally everybody was praising it to the skies, and right now everybody's just talking about how to change the armor, complaining about it, feeling very, down about it. I also want to address the topic of sugarcoating. Literally every single change the staff makes to an item, they call it a bug fix. Like bruh, if it's a buff, call it that. If it's a nerf, call it as such. I don't know why they're so allergic to the word nerf. You can get away with calling them bug fixers once, twice, maybe even thrice. But when you do it almost every single time an item gets changed, I call it bullshit. Stop fucking gaslighting your players. There are indeed a group of very ignorant players who will play along with whatever you decide to call it, but don't assume that everyone is the same. Your players aren't dumb. We can see for ourselves if something gets buffed or nerfed. We don't need you or anyone else for that matter telling us what the heck it is. We form our opinions based off the actions you take, not whatever you say. Next, the topic of the eternal race against the clock. They are short-handed, we get it. They are excited to push out the release as quickly as possible to us after a 2-day delay. We get it. But you're telling me you couldn't spend just 5 minutes testing out or playing through your own release before pushing it out? You literally just need to use the armor skill once. And these bugs, as you would like to term them, would be painfully obvious. Okay, everyone makes mistakes, no shame there. But let's look at how they handle them, as that to me is more important. Straight up doubling the cost of the first 2 skills and halving the damage of the 3rd skill. Was this even tested or just pushed out in a hurry? There's no way you actually think these will be good fixes. And this is why, like I've always been saying, the constant obsession with math and balance falls apart yet again. On paper, they seem fine, sure, but do you even use them in battle at all? Heck, even against combat practice trainer would be good enough. You can't look me in the eye and tell me that the skills in the current state are actually good to use. This brings me to my next point, which is the bigger problem at hand. Whether or not you agree with me and whether or not you like to hear it, this game has never been balanced in the 20 years that it's been around. In the super early days, we had stuff like Guardian Angel Elder, shout out to Zeril, clearing all the supposed impossible fights. Then came along Eye of Nut. When that got changed, we had Purple Rain, which did the exact same thing. And now that Purple Rain is gone, we have tons of other OP options, be it offensively, allowing us to take out most enemies in a couple of turns max, or defensively, allowing us to take no damage at all. And yet, despite this game having never been balanced before, players keep coming back to it. Why? What's the thing that hasn't changed in the past 20 years? It's the fact that the game is unbalanced. We can play God in 100 different ways, and that to me is a core part of why the game remains fun to this day. Story has never been AQ's strong suit, let's be honest. It's really the combat system. The ability to synergize different items together to create some ridiculously OP combos. Players love that, and that's why they keep coming back for more. So, we need to stop seeing the game being unbalanced as a bad thing. It's actually part of the beauty that makes Adventure Quest Adventure Quest. This game was never known for being a difficult game. It's not Dark Souls, for crying out loud. So instead of trying to change the game's identity, why not stick to what the game has always been known for all these years? I feel like to grow the game in this day and age, the target audience shouldn't be completely new players that have never even heard of Artix Entertainment. It should be the old players who have long quitted the game. Players from other AE games. I feel like they would do better if they focus on this aspect rather than trying to copy or compete with the more modern games nowadays. Once again, looking at you Dark Souls, majority if not all of your new players nowadays are actually returning players. Look at the forums, the AEO Discord, the AQ subreddit, heck even my YouTube comments section. If you want to succeed, then ask yourselves this question. What is it exactly that keeps them coming back? Has game difficulty ever been a thing in the past? I don't think so. Yeah, I've answered the question for you. I've probably said this before, but I want to say it again in case it's not clear. I don't like making these sort of videos. It's demoralizing to make, and it's also demoralizing to watch. Killing the game benefits me in no way whatsoever. The game dies and so does my channel. But I am also not the type to sit in dreamland thinking that everything is just sunshine and roses. Sometimes things need to be said, and they need to be said in a harsh tone so people can wake up and look at the reality before it's too late. The staff needs to stop killing their best releases themselves. I feel like the staff has this very bad habit of building up hype and then crushing it completely later on. Stat revamp, Archmage, Void revamp, hello? Please stop doing this, it's not good for the game. Erring on the side of items being too good is way better than the opposite. If an item needs fixing or nerfing because it's too good, take some time to test how badly the nerf is going to affect the item first. People are going to complain about an item being bad a lot more than an item that is too good. If making an item balanced on paper means it's going to be mediocre practically, then maybe it's time to make an exception. There's no point in making items that no one's going to use. You are wasting your very limited time. I'm not referring to this armor specifically, I'm just saying in general. I hope that the fix to this armor is going to be just as swift as the initial fix. Please don't let it sit there and be forgotten for months. This is a great release. I would hate to see this blemish ruin it. And yeah, that's all I have to say on this topic for now. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you guys agree with me? Do you guys disagree with me? And yeah, if you guys like this video, then go ahead, give it a thumbs up. And if you guys would like to see more AQ content, then be sure to subscribe to my channel. Till the next time, I'm your host Korriban Gaming. Peace out.